you all for having me here this morning. And say all of you are very sharply dressed. Can you guys give yourself a round of applause for that? I'm here to talk to you all and just kind of encourage you on the day in accordance with that theme, Mission Unstoppable. So let's get the weird part out of the way. I was born without hands. And, you know, a lot of times when stuff like this happens, you know, people look for an excuse or what happened, and sometimes it's genetic, and I found out earlier on, or through these videos and stuff like that, there are multiple things that can cause it to happen, but in my case, I was a mutation, a genetic mutation, and so I was born without hands. My mom didn't know I was gonna be born without hands, and you know, from the very moment I was born, her objective, first and foremost, was for me to get an education and to have a normal childhood just like anyone else. And so, and I'm going back, but to bring it forward real quick, I'm an artist. And when I tell people that, a lot of times they're like, well, how? Like, you don't have hands. Well, so that's where the Mission Unstoppable part comes. Because at the very onset, in us figuring out, you know, my mom has this kid, he's born without hands. How do I make sure he has a normal childhood? How do I make sure he gets to go do the things that every other little kid likes to do? Anybody here play sports? So how do I make sure he plays sports? How many of you, as sharp as you are, got yourself dressed this morning? How many of you can use a fork and spoon? Right? That seems like a silly question, but for us, my mom's objective was, how do we figure this out when my child was born without hands? And so about a month after I was born, my mom found Scottish Rite Hospital, which is also where I work at now, and they specialize in helping kids born with a lot of different types of differences. I don't call them a disability. What I have is not a disability, I'm just different. And so the key thing, I think, in our relationship with the hospital after becoming a patient, we took home this problem-solving mentality, right? And that's what I want to encourage all of you to have, because you're here and you have the opportunity with your life to solve a problem that is unique to you, right? And so all of those questions I just asked, at a very early age, how does a kid without hands use a fork and spoon, right? How do we do that? How do we figure that out? And so through being a patient at Scottish Rite, they were able to help me with those things. And actually my first fork and spoon, it was a bracelet, a little device I would slide onto one of my hands, and then I'd use it to like scoop my food and eat. But my mom would always take it a step further. What if you leave it somewhere? What if you forget it? What if you can't find it? Then what do you do? Well, how many of you eat with your hands? How many of you eat with your hands at a fancy restaurant? You're supposed to do that? Okay, exactly. So we had to figure it out. And so taking that problem-solving mentality, you know, just working through different ways, I learned how to use both of my hands to do something as simple that most people take for granted, is using a fork and spoon. Well, okay, we're figuring out how to eat, how to get dressed, how to be a kid that's not in school yet, right? But then I have to start school. And this is kind of where the rubber hits the road, and I also discovered my love and my passion for art. Well, so what we found out when I was getting ready to start kindergarten, in order for me to sit in a classroom, like every other kid, I told my mom I had to learn how to write. I had to be able to write. And I had to be able to use a pair of scissors. Well, again, how do you teach a kid to write that was born without hands? And so we had to figure this out. Well, you know, being a patient at the hospital, they have a family resource center, and so there were videos of other patients, and we checked out some of those videos, and we tried some of the things in those videos, but my situation was unique. And again, we have to solve this problem, because my mom was very serious and adamant about me getting an education. So my grandma came up with this idea to use coloring books. And so the summer before I got ready to start school, my grandma went and bought a stack of coloring books. Can you all color? How many of you like to color? Okay. Is it still cool? I know some of the older guys, you guys like, we don't do it. It's actually very stress relieving. So, but my grandma went and got this stack of coloring books, and the thought was, again, solving a problem that is unique to me, right? If we can learn how to color, and we can figure that out, we should be able to write, which would then allow me to be able to go to school, just like you all are here today, sitting in the classroom like everyone else. So I practiced every day, trying different things. The first thing I tried was using my toes to hold a crayon. Any of you ever gotten a toe cramp? It's not fun. So that was kind of out of the question. So I wasn't going to use my toes. I tried using my mouth to hold the crayon. And even though crayons are different colors, they have one flavor, and that is gross. So they don't taste like Skittles or Jolly Ranchers or Starburst, they taste gross. So that was out of the question. And then I tried some other things that looked like these weird, like, kind of like yoga positions where I had one hand on my foot, and I was just like, yeah, I'm not doing that in front of a room full of other kids, right? This is not cool. Like, I look like Spider-Man, right? So eventually I learned how to use both of my hands. Same way I'm holding the microphone, right? So I learned how to hold the crayon with both of my hands. That was the first step. We're kind of there, but we got to take it a step further. So I was able to scribble on the pages in the coloring books, right? But in order to be good at something, what do you have to do? Anybody know? You have to practice. So every single day, I would color in those coloring books, front to back, until I could color the pages without making a mistake. Now, I did have some creativity. I could give people like green hair and make the sky like purple or whatever. My grandma gave me the freedom to be able to do that. That's probably where the art comes in. But we figured out how to color. I built the dexterity to be able to write, and I was able to start school. But something funny happened. My grandma kept buying me these coloring books. I'm like, well, we solved the problem. I'm in class. Probably got in trouble for talking too much. But I'm in class, I'm learning. She kept buying me these coloring books. But at this point, she would let me pick and choose which ones I wanted to, she would get. And so I started tracing the pictures in the coloring books, and then something, I guess you can call it miraculous, something just clicked at about the age of 5 when I was in first grade. And I could like look at something and I could draw it. So I remember the first picture I drew. How many of you know what Tiny Toon Adventures is? It's kind of like a spin-off of Looney Tunes. Oh God. You guys know who Bugs Bunny is? There you go, okay. So I drew Buster Bunny. That was like my first drawing. And I took it to my grandma. She was like, I don't believe you drew that. Trace it, do something else. So then I drew a picture of Batman. And then she gave me her plants to draw, which I think she was giving me her plant, and I had to draw every single leaf on the plant. Then we got more advanced and I had to shade it, but I think she was doing that to keep me in the same place because it was very active. But that's where my love and my passion for art came from, because I realized that if we solved the problem, I was able to get into class, but then take it a step further. I discovered a passion for art. I loved comic books. Anybody in here love comic books? Cartoons? Marvel movies? So that's what kind of led me, because I wanted to be able to draw pictures and tell stories and learn about different types of media and just continue to grow and express myself as an artist. And so you think, okay, well, he's drawing, he's in school, he hasn't figured out. So a lot of times on your journey, solving a problem, figuring out who you are, your mission unstoppable, right? There are two types of challenges. There are the internal ones, which is what you tell yourself every morning when you get up, right? You have to tell yourself and believe that you can do whatever it is you set out to do for the day. But sometimes you run into challenges beyond your control. So I'm good at my art thing, I'm doing well in school, I get to high school, I'm in the 10th grade, and in one of my art classes, we get an architectural drawing assignment. Do you guys know what architecture is? Oh. All right. Older students, you guys know what architecture is? So in order to do these architectural drawings, you have to use precision tools. So you have to use a T-square, a ruler, and a triangle to do these drawings. How many of you know how to use a ruler? Right? How many of you have ever tried to draw a straight line without a ruler? What happens? Does it come out good or so-so? It's kind of sketchy, right? So I get this assignment. I'm trying to figure out how to do this, right? Because same way I'm holding the microphone, if I hold the pencil with both of my hands, well then how do I hold the ruler? How do I hold the T-square and how do I hold the triangle to do this drawing? I gotta do it, right? Because it's a requirement in order for me to continue my education. So I have to figure this out. And so it's a challenge I have to overcome. So I got frustrated and I did the whole thing without using any of the precision instruments. How do you think it turned out? Terrible, right? And so I love telling the story because I did this assignment and my mom, she gets my grades and normally she wasn't worried about my art classes. Those were always A's. Like, if anything, she would tell me, hey, we gotta work on our math, let's bring that up a notch, but my art classes, she knew what to expect. And so when she saw my grades, she was like, well, wait a minute, what happened? So we meet with the teacher. Teacher shows her the assignment. And pretty much at that point, since I wasn't able to complete it a certain way using those tools, she basically told my mom, well, he may want to look at doing something else. I'm sitting right there, I've been drawing, painting, doing clay sculpture, would go paint murals in my summer camps and stuff like that since I was a little kid. And so in hearing that, how do you think I felt? Sad. But I was a patient at Scottish Rite Hospital. So when I would go to my appointments, since I was born without hands, they would always take clay molds. There's like the medical portion of your exam where they have to make sure my bones are still growing right, I'm still growing right, even though my hands were different, make sure everything is okay with them. And, going to the doctor there is always kind of fun because you get popcorn. It's not like scary like most hospitals, but they would take the treatment a step further in helping us solve these problems because they would always ask my mom, like, what is he trying to do right now? So my mom tells the teacher, or tells my care team at the hospital about what was happening with this assignment. I got another chance to make it up. We got to figure it out because it is something that may limit me as an artist. And so I finish my appointment, get some popcorn, we leave, and we don't think anything of it, right? Come back about a month or so later, and in walks, we have biomechanical engineers that work at the hospital. So telling them about this problem, they helped us figure it out, and they walk in with this drawing table, T-square, ruler, and a triangle. They were different. The drawing table had a sling on it, so I could put it over my shoulder and take it anywhere with me. The T-square, the ruler, and the triangle had electromagnets in it. Do y'all know what that is? It's like a really, really, really strong refrigerator magnet. Really strong. And so the way this worked is like I could take the drawing table with me because, I sling it over my shoulder, I pull it out, put my paper down, use the T-square ruler, the triangle, place them on top of the paper, and then I had a pedal that connected to it, and I would tap the pedal and it would lock those precision instruments in place. Now, after what I was told, my mom and I, we used to have conversations like this all the time when people would tell me what I wouldn't be able to do, or say, well, he's not gonna be able to do that. But after seeing this, we had a conversation, and I just knew immediately I was gonna take this thing to school, and I was gonna blow this teacher's mind. How do you think I felt when I walked in class? Who said confident? I felt confident because I knew, and this is why his story is meaningful to me. I knew that, and you can take this in general in life. Sometimes you may get a no, but you have to appreciate the people that will tell you yes, because there are always people that will help you along your journey to overcome the challenges that you face. And so I knew immediately, I was excited to walk into class, and sure enough, I laid this thing out and I started doing my drawings, using my instruments and stuff like that, and the teacher's her jaw just dropped. At first she was like, what is this contraption? But then after she saw me using it, it was just like, her mind was blown. Well, I took that as a lesson, as a personal lesson, to never give up. If you are passionate about something and you do want to do something, you have your internal challenges and you have your external challenges, but you have to continue to be a problem solver. There's always a way to get to where you want to be in life. And so, I'll sum it up. From that point on, I did go on to graduate high school at the age of 16. Started school at the University of Texas at Dallas. Graduated with my bachelor's in fine arts and technology, which is art and computer graphics, at the age of 20. Worked for a little while doing web development stuff, went back and got my master's degree. Finished my master's degree at the age of 23. But I started teaching college classes at the age of 22. And I did that for 3 years. I graduated, taught at UTD, and then I began my career as a project manager. And so I talked to you all about problem solving. And so in my career as a project manager, that's what we do. I figure out how to solve problems and how to solve organizational challenges. And so sharing that with you all to say that no matter what it is you want to do, there's always a way to solve that problem. Mission Unstoppable is our theme. So remember that. Whatever challenge you face in school, whatever challenge you face in your life, there's always a way to get to where you want to be. And so I brought a painting with me, and it's funny because even still to this day, I tell people I'm a painter, I'm an artist, and sometimes they're like, is it abstract? Do you do like splatter paint? How does this work? It's even weirder when I ask people if I can paint them, and they haven't seen my work before, because they're like, are you serious? But after jumping around with material, I do like painting people, because going back to when I love comics, I like being able to tell a story about somebody in one single moment, right? And so I brought something with me today to show you all. It is not abstract. So just in closing, always remember to be a problem solver and continue to look for ways to solve the internal challenges and overcome the external challenges that you may face. Don't place limits on yourself, and don't let anything stop you. And so I will leave you all with that.
Let's give Mr. Blair another hand.